Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Nearly 20 years ago, Grammy Award-winning producer Timbaland got in the studio and made a song that would go on to become one of his most iconic. From clubs and wedding receptions to bat mitzvahs and everything in between, if you were alive in 2007, you couldn't escape its hypnotic beat.
That unique da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's arpeggiation, right?
That song, The Way I Are, would peak at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Critics were into it. That memorable synth line felt like a peek into the future. When I talked to Timbaland earlier this month, he told me he's always tried to embrace new technology in his music production. For The Way I Are, he and his team experimented with mix effects and synthesizers.
I just found the sound, and I'm like, ooh, that's a dope pattern, so it's still my taste.
Timbaland made that song in his 30s. He's 52 today. A lot's changed in music production since. New tools have introduced new questions about how the over $28 billion recorded music industry makes its core product. And artists, whether they're making songs in their bedrooms or at a big-time music studio, have had to grapple with those shifts. Today, Timbaland is an outspoken advocate for the tech that he thinks is going to most change the music industry next: AI.
I look at it as an amazing tool that I wish it was available in my early 20s or 30s.
Timbaland says that AI tools help him focus on being a better artist, and that, at the end of the day, he's the one pulling the levers, the one with the vision. But as AI changes the way music is made, labels, artists, and listeners are left wondering, who stands to benefit from these tools? And who has the most to lose? Today on the show, how AI broke through in the music industry, the sticky questions it raises, and where it could be headed next. This is The Big Take from Bloomberg News. I'm Sarah Holder. Ashley Carman covers all things audio for Bloomberg. And she says, right now, there are 3 major ways AI is starting to show up in the industry. The first is the most obvious and perhaps the most controversial: generative AI.
I think AI was bubbling up for a while. Real prognosticators in the space saw it coming. They were like, yeah, this is going to be something where you can generate a song at the tap of a button, and this is going to eliminate the need for commercial libraries, for example. You know, the background music you hear on Netflix, or you license maybe a catalog of songs and you can just use them royalty-free for eternity. But then I think what started to really bubble up was more of these use cases where, yes, you could generate a song at the tap of a button, but actually, maybe you're going to use it in a way that is going to allow you to either use someone's likeness to get some attention for your song. You're going to distribute that song on streaming services and try to get streams.
When you say someone's likeness, their musical likeness or their physical likeness?
Voice, musical stylings, sound, essentially. So that's kind of more of the side where you see the labels and other rights holders kind of racking their heads about this. Like, what are we going to do?
One of the more high-profile cases of this came in 2023, when an anonymous creator released a hip-hop track called Heart on My Sleeve. It was generated using AI, but you can hear how it's designed to sound a lot like the artist Drake.
And the song sounded like Drake and The Weeknd had collaborated. And when it came out, I think there was all this speculation, like, is this a real song from Drake and The Weeknd? Like, we didn't know it was coming. It's a surprise drop. Certainly sounds like them. Eventually, when it was realized that it's an AI song, that just kind of started this whole conversation around AI in the music business, because Drake and The Weeknd are both signed to Republic, which is owned by Universal Music Group. Universal Music Group very much vocally said, we're concerned about AI. We don't want AI songs to overwhelm the streaming services and essentially take market share away from human artists.
The song went viral. It even looked like it was on track to chart, but then it started disappearing from streaming platforms one by one. UMG wouldn't comment on it directly, but it issued a statement saying that training generative AI on music from their artists violated copyright law, and that music platforms have a, quote, fundamental legal and ethical responsibility to prevent the use of their services in ways that harm artists, unquote. But some artists are embracing AI-generated music. Just a week after Heart on My Sleeve was released, the singer-songwriter Grimes, who's been a vocal proponent of AI for years, invited fans to make music using AI versions of her voice. But she asked them to register the music on her website so they could split royalties 50-50. It was an example of the conflicting ways different players in the industry feel about AI and how fast those perspectives are evolving. Fresh off the copyright controversy around Heart on My Sleeve, UMG has also been promoting what the company sees as more responsible uses of the tech.
2024 was a really big year for AI.
Ashley spoke to Michael Nash, who's the executive vice president and chief digital officer at UMG, about the second main way AI is being used in music production. Behind the scenes, to clean up recordings, and in the studio by engineers who mix and master work. He told her about how UMG revived old music by the Beatles, a band the label represents and whose members aren't all alive to re-record.
The story there is recordings in 1977 by John Lennon were used to produce some singles in the 90s, but there was one track, Now and Then, which wasn't possible to use because the piano part was like kind of banging over the vocal and becoming intermingled in a way that the vocal track was not previously usable.
They used AI to extract John Lennon's vocals from this old recording that they had and essentially make it sound really nice and use it in the song.
So no part of that vocal was AI generated, but it was AI excavated.
It's now nominated for a Grammy.
Michael told Ashley that UMG is also interested in exploring another type of AI music product, the third category of AI material that's cropping up in the industry: content tailored to a specific listener.
There's an interesting component around kind of hyper-personalization, where the consumer can use the AI technology to customize the music listening experience.
Sony Music Entertainment, one of UMG's competitors, tried this last fall. The company worked with David Gilmour from Pink Floyd to offer fans a personalized AI track and artwork, remixed from portions of the album.
So the idea really was, you're a fan, you want a special experience, you want to feel like you really own that album in a different way than anyone else. So you would get customized artwork based on your prompts as well as a song.
But whether there's consumer demand for this is another question entirely. Right now, the industry is in the spaghetti-at-the-wall phase of AI, trying things out, seeing what sticks, and making case-by-case decisions about what feels ethical. Coming up after the break, how companies like UMG and musicians like Timbaland draw those lines, and the legal battles that could define them more clearly. If you ask Timbaland, AI is just like any technology he'd use to help him make music, but more powerful. And he's been leaning into it. In October, he announced a partnership with Suno, an AI music generation tool.
It's like going to the record store, picking out samples. And when you get that right sample or that right record, it allows you to get more creative.
But Suno also lets users create whole songs. You just put in keywords, click a button, and generate a track. To understand how tools like Suno really work, Ashley and I gave it a test drive ourselves. Have you tried this before?
No, let's do it.
Okay, what should we make a song about?
Should we try to do like a Christmas song?
Definitely. A Christmas song
about New York
and the beach, because I wish I was at the beach.
Okay.
In the style of
Mariah Carey.
Create a song. I'm so excited. In just a few seconds, we had our custom song. New York Noel. Okay,
oh my God.
Let's play it.
Doesn't sound like Mariah Carey at all.
Sandy grains. Christmas trees so bold and pretty, but I'm dreaming of sandy grains. This should be playing in the elevator.
That's exactly the thing. Like, could this pass for elevator music or podcast music?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Netflix background music? I don't know. I want to believe that between the two of us, we could write better lyrics for a Christmas song. I want to believe that, but I haven't actually tried. We definitely wouldn't say sandy grain.
Yes, I have never thought that sentence in my entire life. The way Timbaland describes how he uses technology like Suno is pretty different. He told me it would be hard to just auto-generate a hit, that making music is still about a person's own creativity, something AI can only amplify.
I don't like to say the word train, but it is like a training. I'm transferring energies to a machine.
So do you have any concern that other artists might use Suno or a tool like it and recreate the Timbaland sound?
It's never going to give you me unless you know how I think. Everybody's taste ain't great. You know what I'm saying? There are people that make stuff that they like to make music, but it ain't good music.
But UMG and 2 other major record labels have a deeper concern with the way Suno works. They've sued the company and a similar one called Udio, accusing them of training their software on copyrighted materials. Suno and Udio have argued that what they're doing is covered by fair use, that they're allowed to use copyrighted material when developing technology that creates what are sometimes called, quote, non-infringing new works. In a court filing, Suno wrote, like a human musician, Suno did not develop its capabilities in a vacuum. It is the product of extensive analysis and study of the building blocks of music. The lawsuits are still ongoing.
Honestly, we're just waiting for the courts to decide.
While they wait, UMG has started to make its own judgments about what it deems ethical use of generative AI. One example came this holiday season when the label released a new version of a Christmas song originally recorded in 1958.
So Brenda Lee's famous song, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, we all certainly know it. They used AI to essentially train on her voice as a young teenager and record the song that sounds like her in Spanish.
Brenda Lee's vocals were used as the training set to develop a vocal model, and then a Spanish language performance by an artist that was in the right vocal range for a match that provide a guide track. And then in the production studio, by merging the guide track with the AI voice clone, voila, you have Brenda Lee performing Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree in Spanish for the first time.
She's an 80-year-old woman. This is not her singing today. She did give her permission. They did this with her, approval. But it is certainly her younger voice singing in Spanish.
To UMG, what's the difference between Heart on My Sleeve and AI-generated, AI-assisted songs that they put out this year? What's the key distinction there in their mind?
UMG says they did not provide the permissions to release that song, to train on Drake's voice or The Weeknd's voice, that this had to have been trained on their copyrighted material, so therefore they do not approve.
But for some artists and companies, the fears around AI go beyond copyright concerns. And they're fears that predate AI, too.
There's kind of these bigger issues around how do you make money as a musician, as an artist, as a producer? How do I break through as an artist? How do I actually make money from streaming? How do I affordably tour?
AI makes some of those questions more pressing. If streaming platforms are flooded with AI-generated tracks, for example, it could get harder for artists to break through the noise and get paid.
There's tons of tracks being uploaded a day. I think it's over 100,000 at this point now, a day. The way streaming is paid out is out of a pie, basically. So if Taylor Swift accounts for 50% of listening on Spotify, she gets 50% of the royalties. So it's taking away that market share and that money from legitimate artists.
Michael Nash from UMG says he doesn't believe a machine will ever be able to mimic the artistry or the emotion that goes into making a truly great song.
What fans really care about is the expression of human artists telling their stories about, their lived experiences, about people falling in love, about people having great friends, about people having a wonderful time on a Saturday night. That's what fans are really interested in. They're not interested in knockoff, derivative, sound-alike content.
Whether or not listeners actually connect with music that's been touched by AI, or even know AI was involved, the genie is now out of the bottle. And even Timbaland acknowledged that comes with trade-offs. How might this have changed your process working on some of your earlier songs, like Would the way I are have sounded different if AI had existed?
That's funny. I think it would have sounded the same. It would just be the same way I'm using it now. It would just been more helpful, and we would have put out way more music. The process would have been way more faster. The reason why I'm glad that it wasn't back then, because it wouldn't allow me to collaborate with people. If it was available back then, it would have been like me and the machine.
This is The Big Take from Bloomberg News. I'm Sarah Holder. This episode was produced by Julia Press. It was edited by Aaron Edwards, Felix Gillette, and Dana Wallman. It was mixed and sound designed by Alex Sugiura. It was fact-checked by Adriana Tapia. Our senior producer is Naomi Shavin. Our senior editor is Elizabeth Ponso. Our executive producer is Nicole Beamsterboer. Sage Bauman is Bloomberg's head of podcasts. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and review The Big Take wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps people find the show. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Thursday.